So today we're going to look at the UNS Titan 1. So this is a video I've been waiting on. I've been waiting for this one to come in because this is, if you guys remember, this is a Chicago tank. And I should be getting a video out, more update on this too. So obviously you see it now, but I'll try to do another video separate explaining how this has been doing and all the differences, especially since, you know, adding this light on there. So, and that's one reason why we went with this light. Obviously it being a pendant for the escape regardless, but not only that, so I can actually compare it to the ADA for you guys and show you guys kind of what's the differences and what you're really expecting between this light, which, you know, retails for that about mid 400s, where the solar RGB is almost double. So this video is just going to show you a quick rundown and, you know, what you're really getting for both and what to expect for both. And so first thing first, I mean, clearly design wise, almost the exact same look, you know, how UNS, so it is almost like, you know, a complete copy when it comes to the design aspect of it. And then you see the LED panels are about the same. You know, from the bottom view, it almost looks the same. That you see from the top here. But the first thing I can tell you guys right now, just, you know, from touching it and feeling it, and obviously picking it up too, is this is a lot lighter, and that's not necessarily I mean, that could be a good thing to you or a bad thing, but I can tell you why it's lighter is because the UNS also is kind of a, I want to say cheaper made, but when you're comparing it to the solar RGB, it is cheaper made. When you feel it, it's just like all these grills right here are easily bendable. You can kind of see. It's just, it does it do the job? Yes, but compared to the solar RGB, where there's a lot more weight to it, it's a beefier light. Just like every ADA product, it's built to last, and that's really the biggest key thing here, especially when it comes to ADA or any other brand comparison. It's just the build quality, and the handmade aspect. Everything is just the detail when it comes to ADA, and, you know, obviously a light like this is just, you know, mass produced, and it's, you know, it's a little flimsy and stuff like that in the areas, but that's, you know, that's going to be dependent on the person, and some people will not care whatsoever, but it is a lot cheaper made of a light when it comes to material. I'd have to actually look up what the two are made out of, but yeah, just from the feel and just touching it, yeah, it's just a lot cheaper build. And then the wires, it's about the same, but it's kind of a weird situation with the wires going into the light like this. I don't think it'd ever fail on you, but again, the ADA also has, the wires are definitely not going anywhere on the ADA, so just be wary of, you know, on this one, like maybe not being too aggressive with it, because one day it could, you know, stop, maybe never, but the wire situation on the UNS could be kind of iffy depending on how aggressive you are with it, so that could be a little bit of a concern. Maybe not, but just something to keep in mind, to be kind of careful, even just with this light in general, just to be more careful in the hands with it. You could mess it up. Really, and then yeah, so output wise, wattage wise, it's about 90. Of course, solar RGB is 130, so lighting differences, I mean, you're paying for a lot brighter light on solar RGB, so that's a pretty big difference. You're talking 40 watts. I mean, that's a lot of light, and so that's, you know, that's self-explanatory right there with the output there. So you're getting a lot stronger of a light with the ADA as well. And the next thing people are going to want to know is color spectrum. So as you can see, even just in this video, it puts out a pretty green spectrum, just like the solar RGB. And so it, compared to almost every other company, yeah, this is a very nice, you know, spectrum light, and it looks great on literally any tank you ever put it on. But with the ADA, I will say, and I'll try to get a photo here side by side while I'm talking, just so you guys can see side by side between like maybe my 90p and like a tank like this, so you can see. But I would say best describing this UNS is kind of like, not like a twin star, because it's nowhere near a twin star. The greens are way deeper than a twin star, but twin star in the fact that, like, sometimes some of the greens on some plants are still kind of like that lime green, kind of that yellowish tint, to where it could be a little bit more richer in colors on some of the stuff. But overall, it's not the biggest complaint. This looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty good overall. Most people aren't gonna complain about the color spectrum whatsoever, but that there is a difference though, for sure, just seeing compared the two. So that is one thing you may take into consideration. But other than that, like, obviously app control wise, none of these have app controls between the UNS and solar RGB, so that this offsets each other. There's nothing to argue there. Both don't have apps. Both are just plug and play. So there's nothing to, you know, talk over each other from that. But then yeah, like the core situation, you know, about the same. I mean, literally there's no difference there whatsoever. Pretty much about the same. Of course, again, just like everything else, the ADA, everything visually looks nicer. So, you are gonna pay for a little bit better looking of a device. Even just stuff like this, like the screw holes on the UNS, being exposed. Again, most people aren't gonna care. But with the ADA, it's a lot more sleeker. All this is hidden. It just feels like one big, solid piece. Everything's just hidden. Nothing's exposed. Everything is really nice put together. And then the last big thing I wanted to explain why I'm showing this light is that there's no shade attachments, at least at the moment, for these UNS tanks. So again, if you're up on an angle and you're looking up to it, you are going to get glare. Again, this light is 90 watts. It's not going to be that eye blinding compared to solar RGB, but it is a very bright light, and without shades it can get kind of annoying to some people. So that's just one thing, another personal preference. Some people may be perfectly fine looking at straight out a light like that, but especially with this tank, with it being so tall, that is something you may want to factor in. Obviously, I've seen people make their own shades for stuff like this. So but obviously with the ADA, they are sold separately, but they do have that attachment to where it comes down, and it can also direct light more towards the tank and keep it from blinding you. So that is another advantage of ADA, is their accessories too that comes with it to make it even that much more better. So, but yeah, other than that, that's what I wanted to share for the UNS Titan one. And then the next clip, I just want to compare the ADA and kind of show you guys the ADA once more. And yeah, we'll show you guys that one. So now I'm back at my tank, and now we're going to look at the solar RGB by ADA. And so we talked about all the, some of the cons and pros to the UNS Titan 1, and now we're going to, like I said, we're going to look at the solar RGB now and just show you guys kind of the main differences. And so right away, it's hard to say when you're not in person, of course, with a lot of this stuff, but obviously, trust my word on it when I say the build quality on the solar RGB is literally 10 times more better. Like, when it's just like the grills, like obviously, yeah, they're flexible, of course, they're just a thin metal, but you just feel how much more tougher this light is, and it's just like you feel it in the coating on it's nicer. It feels nicer. It's a lot more tougher built. And not even that, with it hanged up, it's hard to again explain too. But the weight of it, like this light, is way heavier than the Titan one. The Titan one is actually kind of surprisingly really light. Which again, different materials, obviously more heavy duty materials on the solar RGB. There's a reason why that is. And then, yeah, and then just again, like design aesthetics wise, just like I said on the Titan one, like how the screw holes, which you still see screws on these ones, but they're darker. Everything's more hidden. It seems like on the Titan one, you're kind of just, yeah, will the light work just fine? Yeah, probably for most people's setups, but aesthetically, there's just always going to be more detail, and everything's going to be more thought out when it comes to design too. When it comes to ADA products, and that's a big thing. I always tell people, especially, is sometimes, yeah, some products may be just as good production wise as the ADA, but it literally always goes back to the quality build and the actual look and design of it at the end of the day. And ADA pretty much will win that any day of the week. And so, not only that, and then obviously the big thing too that I explained on it is, yeah, the shade part. Yeah, could you make shades for the UNS Titan 1 or get something for that? Yeah, but that's another thing that the ADA will have is the actual shades perfectly made for this light, and especially a light like that, it's almost needed. So it kind of sucks that when you have it up high, I mean, that light is still 90 watts at the end of the day too, so that's still a very bright light, and it will blind you pretty good if you look at it long enough. So that having the shades on something like this is makes a world of a difference. And then I got a top view here, and that too, like the way the top build the wires, I feel more safe about the wires on this one than the Titan one. And it's kind of weird. And one thing when I was installing it, that I didn't even mention, I don't think, when I was showing you guys the Titan one, was like putting on the wires. Like sometimes that little piece that actually will lock in the wire,
like I don't know how many times when I was trying to screw it, like it's just so tiny it would fall and then fall in the grill part. And not that it's a big deal, but you literally almost have to like get some or like tip the light all the way over just to get it back out. And then like because the way the grills will keep going across the light, it just made it kind of almost like a pain to put on with the wires with it being so tiny. Whereas like the ADA, again, a little small detail, but it makes the biggest difference. You see how big the nuts are for the with the hold the wires, and of course with it being solid up here, literally it just doesn't go anywhere. So it just makes the install process way simpler, and doesn't make it less of a headache. And that too, the wires, everything just goes a lot better. It just looks again, it just aesthetically, and then everything is just more thought out on the light, and that just goes for every ADA product. You know, it's just the small details. Everything is just thought out a little more. And not only that, the going back to the nut, when I was installing the UNS, it was kind of you had to literally take the entire nut off, and which no big deal, but it was kind of hard to get the wire pushed through all the way, and it was just the whole like it's just a little bit crazier to install. It just made it more of a headache at the end of the day. Again, once it's up, it's up, but it just kind of made it a little more stressful to put up at the end of the day. So it just wasn't the most best install I could have done. So yeah, that's one small detail to note. And then not only that, like with the design color, UNS, you got the black, and then you got the silver too, which again, both of those are fine, but they just look cheaper too, the color wise. Which of course with the ADA with yeah, if I could focus on their finish on it, and then of course like the gray, which with aquascaping and a lot of equipment, gray is kind of the more professional color, and so that's nice. Of course, Solar RGB does come in like a black and white limited edition now, so those are available. But again, I've seen those in person too, and they look way nicer. It's just there's just a better coating and finish, all back to visual design too. It just looks a lot more better. And then yeah, and then if we're going out production wise, intensity. Obviously, this light is 130 watts, so again, a lot brighter. Yes, the Solar RGB is a little more money because of that too, and of course, it's that's why you're paying more for the Solar RGB, and the Titan ones, half the money. But you factor in, because 40 more watts that's a lot of wattage. Most like 20, 30 gallons are running off 40 watts, so that's a quite a bit of a jump difference, especially when you're running on big tanks like this. And so yeah, 40-watt difference, 90 to 130. So that's and it also depends on what you're doing, of course, with your setup and what plants you're growing and all that. But that's just a big thing to take in consideration too, is all that as well. And so, and then probably the last thing is just the accessory wise. Of course, not only the shades, but when it comes to actually the brands themselves, of course, there's third party companies that make out arm mounts and all whatever you want to buy, of course. But when you're talking about like just what UNS offers for their lights and then what ADA offers for their lights, ADA definitely wins that, no question. I just installed some UNS bars, and I can tell you now, it's just the aesthetic of the bar on the actual tank. I just never was a fan of. It bends over too much. I really don't like it at all, and visually, I just don't think it looks good either. Again, some tanks, some people might not care, but I just felt like I liked how it hide the wire, but other than that, it's just, it just would, and that too, it just doesn't come in, it just came in like a silver color, like a chrome, which just looked kind of cheap. I mean, it's not like this where it's stainless and this is chrome too, but like it just the way it looked was just real like cheap looking, and so I wasn't a big fan of it. And then UNS, I think they may have another bar item, but same deal. They're kind of look the same and kind of the same concept. Whereas the ADA, they have, of course, this is for the 90p, but this will be kind of the same thing for how they're going to look for all their up to the 180p. But yeah, this is all stainless. This is all solid stand that obviously screws onto the cabinet, goes all the way up. Again, this is just night and day difference when it comes to the accessories they carry for this light. Of course, you got the ADA logo down the end of the pull there. That's just another thing that's really cool. I really like that detailed touch with the ADA engraved into the pull itself. And then that too, they have little clips here that hold the wires to actually hide the wire too. So they do have that going for them. I would say that's the only thing literally that UNS has on their like little stands that they have is yeah, the wire actually can hide in the pull itself. But other than that, like everything else I just dislike about it. So it just isn't the best thing in the world. And then that too, like just to take it off, to take the light off that stand is way more difficult. Where this is, it's just looped up to where all I have to do is push this off and then pull off the wire if I really wanted to take this down and do something different. So not only that, to install it's easy, and then to take it right back off to ever remove it if I ever needed to is also just as easy. So So yeah, that's I definitely want to do a par reading next with the UNS. So that's going to be probably the next video I'll record this on another tank and do the par readings and really show you guys the difference between all that. But this video is just to show the differences between the two lights and to show, just to explain in person the feeling, quality build, and just the little things about each light that are going to be different and why you should choose one or the other. So, but yeah, next video I'm going to do a par reading between the two, so I'm going to get that out probably as soon as possible so I can have these kind of back to back. But if you have questions on the slide, just definitely let me know. But other than that, Instagram's JJ Aquariums, and other than that, I'll see you guys on the next one.